Sources tell CNBC that Paramount Skydance is working with an investment bank to prepare an all-cash takeover bid for Warner Bros. Discovery. Join us now, Puck's Matt Belloni. Was I overstating it, Matt, that not only are we in business news, but we're part of the media? So suddenly something like this is just so interesting because it combines everything we're interested in. Can I ask you a question, though? Why not wait if you are the Ellisons to buy what you want? And I figure that's the streaming stuff. Is there really the thought that it would cost too much because it would be available for anyone to shop for? But they're buying an entire company that everybody wants out of the cable part. Why not wait? Why buy all the cable crap?
I think you're acting a little bit. I think you're being a little bit more rational than perhaps the family of the world's richest man is acting. I mean, this is something where if they want it and they feel that they can get a little bit of a discount by going early and making sure that an Amazon or a Netflix or one of these other tech powers doesn't come in and try to acquire this asset, then it's worth spending a few $1 billion more. And they do believe there is a path forward for these cable networks. It's not just buying nothing. They think that combining the Warner cable networks with what they have at Paramount would at least give them some kind of a scale play that could match what a company like Versant is doing. Or perhaps they end up combining those assets with the Versant assets to create a cable TV power, and similar to what the private equity firms have done with newspapers. So there is a rationale. That was the answer. I was a devil's advocate. That was the answer I was looking for, that everything's worth more than it's currently valued at in the public markets right now. Could be so. And, you know, we haven't, the leadership of Warner Discovery believes that these assets have been incredibly undervalued by the market. Their stock has just not done anything until the news of this deal. And they believe that there is a momentum brewing there. There is a turnaround brewing there. So we'll see what the ultimate price of this offer is. It'll be very interesting to see because it's obviously a starting point for negotiation. But you think that the crown jewel would be to put the streaming operations together? That would be pretty powerful. And to put the studios together and then do what they will. But as you say, who knows? Maybe they can do some stuff with cable as well. And Versant is going to happen soon. Absolutely, yeah. And if you put these two companies together, that's about 200 million streaming subscribers. That's a real competitor to companies like Netflix, Disney. Now, we'll see how much overlap there is between Paramount Plus and HBO Max. And there's a lot of hurdles to that. The studio stuff, yeah, they want the IP. Paramount does not have the intellectual property that Warner Brothers has. Warner's is one of the A-list studios. It's got the DC franchise. It's got all the stuff from Warner Brothers Television over the years. They own Friends. They have all sorts of things that Paramount doesn't have. And Ellison sees that as a franchise machine, that he could exploit those properties across the studio. We'll see if they keep the brands separate, assuming this deal happens. I could see a world where it becomes Warner Brothers, a Skydance company, and Paramount, a Skydance company. But back end will all be combined, and there will be a bunch of consolidation. We saw the angst at CBS coming under what's happening with the Ellisons. I wish I was a fly on the wall over at CNN. There could be a lot of support groups, a lot of therapy sessions, a lot of a lot of hand-wringing. Can you imagine right now have you heard anecdotally whether Yeah, of course. I mean, they're not happy about this, but this is not the first time this has been discussed. I mean, all the way back in the late 2000s, there was discussions about combining the news operations of CBS News and CNN. It's an efficiency move. These days in television news, you're looking for efficiencies. These are two pretty good brands when it comes to news gathering. The brand in the U.S. for CNN has been pretty politicized. But I see the synergy idea here. But obviously, thousands of people are going to get fired if this deal happens. And that's not what people want.
Hey, Matt, it's a much smaller deal, but maybe starts to make a little bit more strategic sense in this grander context that we're talking about. And by the way, we're not even throwing TikTok into the mix. It's possible ultimately that this family, the Ellisons, could own Paramount, Warner Bros. Discovery, and TikTok and Oracle. And if you were to try to leverage them all together, that would be quite something. But what I was going to ask you about was Barry Weiss, which is, I think, what Joe was alluding to. Barry Weiss's Free Press negotiations apparently continue. A deal that would be around $150 million. A lot of people said the economics of that are ambitious or don't necessarily make sense, but maybe they start to make sense if you think that Trump administration regulators are going to ultimately have to approve all of these deals together, and that might make this more palatable to them if they think that the news operations are moving more rightward or I'm sure they would argue more centered.
Sure. I mean, and that's the goal here. I mean, Ellison has made several moves that have been either kissing the ring or tipping his hand, or at least trying to show the Trump administration that he's making moves to centralize or to deliberalize the news network. And the ombudsman they just hired has ties to right-wing think tanks. This guy, Ken Weinstein. There's a lot of things that they're doing that suggest they believe that they will not be held up by the Trump administration if they go after Warner Brothers. There's an economic argument. Obviously, Netflix and YouTube are bigger in streaming, and this is not the big media power that maybe it would have been even a decade ago. But there's a political thing that they're doing where with Barry Weiss on board and with some of these other changes and some of the backroom stuff that we know that Ellison has talked about with the Trump people, they feel at least that they could get this through if they wanted to.